Yeah, I don't think that a gay couple existing directly impacts. There's a gay couple and wherever, and I'm with my wife in our house. Like obviously,
Right.
there's not. But I'm not talking about on the individual level. I'm talking about on the societal level.
Right.
I would agree that divorce, especially this no fault divorce, rampant divorce. I don't think it's as high as 50%. I know that's often quoted. I'm not sure where that comes from, but it is high. It's too high. And
Chris Rock has a great joke about that. He said those are just the people with the courage to get out. He's like, how many cowards stay?
But it's also true that the advocates for what we call now traditional marriage, which I just call marriage, but the advocates for traditional marriage put themselves at a disadvantage by especially in the churches, like allowing this rampant divorce to occur. And then you've already sort of given up on some marriage is supposed to be monogamous and permanent, as well as procreative. Well, you've given up monogamy and permanence, and so now it's not. That's two of the three legs gone, and so now this assault was waged on the procreative part of it, and it was difficult to withstand it because the institution had already been weakened. So I agree with you there, but my answer to that is to try to reinforce what marriage is, not to just give up on it entirely. And I still think you're left with this question of, like, if marriage is not what I'm saying it is, then why do we even need it? What's the point? I mean, you're saying it's a man-made institution.
Yes.
But you're also like the way that you're presenting it. It's a totally meaningless institution. So
No,
they don't need it at all.
No.
I mean, marriage is a man-made institution. People getting together in relationships and having children and cohabitating with each other and committing themselves to each other, that's not man-made. That's been going on forever. But marriage itself is a man-made institution. Usually, using Christianity, the God, or the Bible to enforce the idea of marriage. So, I guess if you are a religious person, you might say, well, no, it was of God, but it was enforced by man. So it is a man-made institution. And unlike what a woman is a biological thing, right? It's a chromosomes. You are a woman. You cannot change that. A woman wasn't a man-made institution where marriage was. So it because of that, it can be evolved and changed. However, I do think words matter and definitions matter. And so, yeah, like if the marriage is supposed to be people committing themselves to each other monogamously and it's supposed to be death to us part, then yeah, that is what marriage is. And maybe that would then sort of minus out people who want to have multiple people who are married, like polyamorous and polygamous marriages. Then maybe that's technically not a marriage because that's technically not the definition of marriage. And if you are having an open marriage or an open relationship, technically that's also not the definition of marriage. So that's technically not a marriage because I guess you just put open in front of you to say, well, then it's not a marriage. It's an open marriage, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, words do matter. Definitions do matter. So I agree with that. And I understand that, but I also I agree with Jordan Peterson Joe Rogan, that it is a man-made institution. And the idea of how we allowed divorce to happen, how would you not allow it? Then will you force people to stay together? Again, it's this authoritarian sort of idea of I should be able to tell people how to live their lives. I think that society is fucked up, and I feel like what a lot of traditionalists and conservatives, Republicans are trying to do is they're trying to usher in back sort of this old school way of living without fixing society first, right? You want to enforce the idea of marriage without fixing the reason why divorce is happening. And no, it's not solely on the shoulders of modern women, right? It's like society is fucked up, period. And so if you want women to feel like they are secure in marriage, then help them feel like they will be secure in marriage. Help them feel like they will be financially, emotionally, spiritually, all of those things will be taken care of. That they will have children and the father will stick around, that they won't be abused or belittled, that they will still feel like they have the freedoms. And for men to feel them that they are secure in marriage, then make them feel like the wife isn't going to divorce them and take everything that they have, and that they'll be left alone and not be able to see their kids, and that they have no say so when it comes to childbearing. Like, you have to fix a lot of the fundamentals in society before you then go, we need to force marriage, right? And then when that's fixed, when that's good, then, you can sort of cultivate a societal belief that marriage is the best thing possible and that divorce is really frowned upon or something like that. But this idea of allowing, it makes me feel like, what are you trying to say, that we should force them to stay married? What if someone's being abused? What if someone's being, their children are being neglected? Hundreds of thousands of children get reported abused and neglected in the United States alone. So a lot of shit needs to be fixed before you traditionalists try to usher in the 1950s, when we don't live in the 1950s anymore. Live in a society we live in now, and if it needs to be fixed, then fix it. But don't try to usher in traditional living in a society that's not there anymore. But anyway, let's continue.
No, it's not meaningless. It's because it means something to the people that get married.
So it's just a subjective, symbolic thing. I mean, what?
Yeah.
So if you're
kind of what it is. Look, there's a massive responsibility when you're married and when you have children to keep your family together and you raise and keep everybody happy and healthy. And there's great reward to that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always work out. It's people change. People are fucked up. It doesn't always work. And so I don't think it should be outlawed because 50% of the people fall apart. Just like I don't think it has any effect whatsoever on a straight couple if a gay couple decides that they want to make it official. And that's what it is to them. It gives them a feeling that they're accepted and appreciated and that they're not discriminated against because they happen to be homosexual.
So, well, what you're articulating to me is the damage that's done by gay marriage to the institution of marriage.
But how is it done? How is that in any way damaged straight people?
Because we are making the institution meaningless.
But it's not meaningless.
Well, but you
it's
just
very meaningful to the people that have it.
So,
I mean, the whole meaningful and meaningless thing, that is you. That's a personal thing to you. If I got married, it meant everything to me. But someone else said it's meaningless, it's man-made, it's stupid. I'm not going to all of a sudden be like, oh no, now it's meaningless to me. I feel nothing about my marriage. It means nothing. It's just air. I think it's just a personal, objective thing. It's my morals, my values, my principles. You're attacking it. You're taking that away from me. So I feel a way about it. It's my sensibilities. But that's a personal thing. There are tons of people that are married, and their marriage means everything to them. They're very committed to their marriage. Their marriage is the utmost important thing to them. And people getting gay married does absolutely nothing to their marriage for them. But when it's a moral thing for you, when it's a values thing for you, then yes, it hurts your sensibilities because it means more to you personally. But there's tons of married people that don't even think twice about gay marriage. It does nothing to their marriage. It doesn't take the meaning away from their marriage. But I guess if you're going again by a definition meaning, then I guess you can say, well, the definition is meaningless because now no one is even following the definition of what marriage is. But on a personal, that's a personal thing. You know what I mean? I think that's a personal thing. And a lot of people feel that way. A lot of conservatives probably disagree with me on this video. That's fine. But that's still your personal thing. That's your personal sensibilities. You might completely think you're right. You might say, I'm right though. That's fine. But it's still a personal thing. If you allow someone else's actions then to dictate how you feel about your own marriage, I don't know. Maybe your marriage isn't as strong as you think it is. It's weird if you let someone else's actions then now take the importance or what your marriage feels like. Are you only married because it means something to you? Morally, are you only married because it means something to you when it comes to your religion? Are you only married because it means something to you because of your principles? Or does your marriage go deeper than that, in my opinion? Because if you're getting married, it should mean so much more to you than what the church says it is, or what the government says it is, or a piece of paper says it is, or a definition of the word says it is. It should mean more to you than that. So if someone getting married who's gay all of a sudden strips all that meaning away from you, then your marriage was weak in the first place. But anyway, let's continue.
Objective, symbolic, and it's about your own personal feelings.
Isn't it though?
Well, no, I would say that it's not.
Well, if it's not subjective and it's not symbolic,
it codifies and protects and gives a name to a thing that actually exists, which are man, woman couples creating people, creating babies.
But not always.
Right, but that's still the nature of the union. So,
but what are the percentage of people today that are married that don't have children? I bet it's pretty high amongst heterosexuals.
Probably.
Is there something wrong with that?
I think there is something wrong with that. I think there is something wrong with getting married and saying, oh, we're not going to have any kids at all.
But why is there something wrong with that if someone's personal choice? Well, why is it wrong that two people are like, I am deeply committed to work and I don't want to sacrifice any of my career and I don't want to ruin a kid because I'm constantly at the office, but that's where I get deep satisfaction and that's what I'm focused on. And the woman says, that's great because I don't want children either. I really am attached to my interests in my career and what I like to do. That's not damaging your relationship with your wife and your family. I certainly don't think of it as a threat to my marriage or my family.
So by the way, I'm going to cut this video in 2 parts because this is a long reaction video. The first clip is like 15 minutes long, which is long for a reaction video for me. And so I'm going to cut this in 2. So a lot of my religious and conservative viewers may disagree with me, but for me, I don't care who you marry. I literally just don't care. As long as they're consenting human adults, I don't care. Now, it changes once you involve children. So Joe Rogan basically just said what I said. Again, I think on the massive scale, most married people are not harmed by a gay marriage. I just think it's strange if you say the meaning of marriage is stripped away from you if anyone can get married, because then it's like, well then damn, if I was your wife and you said that someone getting gay, getting married just strips the meaning away from our marriage, I would just be like, that sucks. I think your marriage should be so much deeper than that, and so much more meaningful than what the church or the government or what the definition of marriage says. But that's just my thing. But again, I get where Matt Walsh is coming from. I like Matt Walsh, but Matt Walsh is definitely more religious and conservative than I would ever be. I'm definitely on more Joe Rogan's side of things. Anyway, let's continue.
Yeah, it is a personal choice.
Right, but shouldn't people be allowed to make those personal choices? Isn't that a fundamental aspect of what it means to be American, to have that freedom?
Well, right, yeah, but right now we're not talking about what people are allowed to do. I'm not saying
we're talking about marriage, gay marriage.
Okay, we were just discussing straight couples who choose not to have kids.
That's also a personal freedom issue, isn't it?
Yeah, but
going back to the whole nature of things. So if a woman's biological fact that most women can have a child, which meaning that most women's nature is to be motherly, right? But if a woman somehow, because she's an outlier, just doesn't have that maternal instinct, they're not motherly at all, and some of these, if they have kids, that's the worst. But that doesn't mean they're not a woman. They're still a woman if they don't fall into that nature, if they're not motherly, if they're not maternal. They're still biologically factual a woman. So if someone has a marriage and they decide they don't have children, does that make it not a marriage? Because he tried to use that example before as it's like saying, what is a woman? Like saying, what is a marriage? Really not the same thing, really apples and oranges. But if we're going to use that same example, if a woman decides not to have children, she's still a woman. So that means if someone decides not to have children when they're married, is it still not a marriage? It's still a marriage. They just didn't fall into the nature of what traditionally people do in their marriage. Anyway, let's continue.
And I'm not saying that straight couples should be legally required to have kids, but if you're asking me, do I think it's the right choice to just get married and choose not to have kids ever? I do not think that that's the right choice. It's their choice, but people can make choices that are wrong, and you can disagree.
How is it wrong if they have a fulfilling and wonderful life together with that choice? If their thing is that they just want to have a bond between the two of them, to just like take it to the next level, let everybody know, like, we are married. If I die, my money's going to go to Helen. And if Helen dies, I'm going to mourn her because she was my wife and now I'll be a widower. Like, to some people, that distinction gives them peace and security and makes them feel better about the relationship, that they're both so committed that they've legally signed documents that say that they're bound by law and under the eyes of God or whatever you believe in.
Yeah. They're able to make that choice, but I think you're still rejecting one of the purposes of marriage. And in the scenario that you just outlined, you're also deciding to live a really self-centered life. You're saying,
but what if you're not? What if your work is very charitable? What if it benefits humanity in a deep way? What if you spend a lot of time doing, healthcare work and social work, and you're deeply committed to your community? It's not selfish at all. You're just dedicating your time to something other than raising new human beings. But you're dedicating your life to enhancing other human beings that are around you.
That's a hypothetical.
It is a hypothetical, but
right,
so is yours, right?
Yeah, but I think most of the people that choose, like, we're not going to have kids, and the rate of those rates are declining, and the age when people first have kids is also going up, and all of that.
Yeah.
And most of the people that are making these choices, I don't think it's because they're involved in charity work. I do think that it is more the scenario you outlined in the first time around, which is just like, well, this is what I'm doing. I have my job. I don't want to give it up.
Yeah.
Because
But don't you think that people should have the freedom to live their life in that way?
Stopping it there. Okay, so I agree with Matt Walsh that the example that Joe Rogan gave, I think that's not the majority of people who are not having kids. Even though it could be, people could live like that, I don't think it's the majority. However, I think they're both hypothetical. I feel like, again, with traditionalists and Republicans and conservatives and religious folks, their hypothetical is, if you have children, then you will just automatically become this mature, responsible, conservative housewife, man of the house, exactly what a family on Leave It to Beaver should look like or whatever. The hypothetical is that people who have kids all of a sudden are going to stop being self-centered and selfish. That's a giant fucking hypothetical. A lot of kids who have kids continue to be self-centered and selfish. A lot of people who have kids continue to be narcissistic and continue to be neurotic. A lot of people who have kids continue to be all about themselves. So why are you telling those people to continue having kids? So you can just have toxic ass kids who grew up to be toxic adults and then pass those toxic traits to the children that they have. I never understood this push for everyone to just have children. There's a lot of fucking people that should not have kids or shouldn't have had children. I'm not advocating for forced sterilization, and I'm definitely not pro-abortion. But the fact of the matter is, I don't understand how on one side of the breath is like, it's selfish not to have children. And yes, I don't think you should have a pure life of self-centeredness. If you're not going to have children, I do implore you to go find a way to be a service to others. However, I think it's equally as selfish to have children simply because you want to have children when you know that you are not mentally, financially, emotionally stable enough, or you don't have the foundation to have a child. I think children is one of the most important fucking things, most important decisions that you can fucking make in your entire life that requires the utmost sacrifice. And so many people are not willing to sacrifice when they have children. I think that, and it makes me angry because I care about children. I think that is one of the most fucking selfish things you can do to another human being, is to just have a child simply because I want to have a kid. I want to have a child. That is just what you're supposed to do because I have a uterus and I have a penis and I'm supposed to do that as an adult. I'm just supposed to just have children when you know you are not in the place to have children. And yes, I know people can have oops babies all the time and it turns out fine. But again, hundreds and thousands of children get reported as abused and neglected in the United States alone. There is a huge child trafficking ring of U.S. born children in America that is pimped out by their own fucking parents in the United States alone. I've studied this because this is what I went to school for. So it makes me fucking crazy when I see conservatives and traditionalists goes, people should just have babies because that will fix everything. Society is broken. Fix the brokenness first, and then start bringing children into the world. I'm not panicked about the rate decline or the population going. I'm not panicked about that. I think that's overblown so fucking much. I'm not doing all that. I think it is selfish to have children when you're not ready to have children. And if you know, if someone goes, I'm fucking self-centered as fuck. I am super selfish. I'm going to care about myself. I am narcissistic. I am neurotic. I'm kind of a bit of a sociopath. I'm not talking about me personally. I'm just saying if someone knows that, if someone's aware enough, self-aware to know that, and they say, the worst thing I can do is to bring a child into that, bravo for being self-aware enough to know that and not damaging another human being simply because you wanted to have a baby. Okay, I went on a rant and a half there. But anyway, so I agree with both Matt Walsh and Joe Rogan that yes, that's an idealistic idea that most people are just going to be charitable if they don't have children. However, I think that both of their ideas of what people are going to do who don't have children and what people are going to do when they do have children are both hypotheticals. But anyway, let's continue.
I think human beings vary widely in a huge way. And I think there's some human beings that find a very fulfilling life just reading books and traveling and experiencing different things and seeing art and doing whatever the fuck they want to do. And they don't necessarily have to have kids to live a fulfilling life that way. And if they choose to do that with someone who they have a loving bond with and who they get married to, I don't think it's a bad thing that they don't want to have kids.
Well, I guess we have to, maybe we're running into a question of, now you get to the real fundamental question.
I think it's a fundamental freedom thing.
Yeah, we're not disagreeing, I guess, on the freedom aspect of it, because again, I'm not saying that you should be required to have kids.
But you're imposing your sensibilities on what you think is important in life to other people. But everybody has a different idea of what's important in life without hurting anyone. The thing is, like, what I'm saying is these people that are married, that don't have children, they're not harming anyone. They're not harming these unborn children that they never have. They're not harming anyone. And it doesn't affect your relationship with your family and your marriage at all.
Yeah, but I'm not imposing myself on them or harming them by answering a question about how I feel about their choices.
Right, but nor are gay people doing that to you.
But I think the reason why Joe Rogan keeps bringing it back to gay marriage and law and stuff like that, and Matt Walsh is saying, look, I'm not forcing anyone, I'm just saying this is my beliefs in it, because gay marriage is relatively new, and it took a long time to get it into law, it took a long time to give gay people those rights, and so I think Joe Rogan keeps bringing it up as if, well, if enough people with your sensibility gets into power, people with your sensibility become politicians, then that law can be reversed, and I think that's where he's coming from. Same sort of slippery slope thing, but I think that's where Joe Rogan's coming from, and yeah, and I would be opposed to that. I think gay marriage should be a thing. I think gay people should get married if they want to get married. I think anyone should get married if they want to get married. It's just when you have children, that's when I start having, like, even when it comes to children in a gay marriage, when it's like if you are two men and you have a daughter, I think that those two men who are married to each other who have a daughter, they should make it a priority to make sure their daughter has a female role model or mentor, because that daughter needs an opposite sex role model. I think every child needs a father and a mother, but in gay marriages they don't have that, right? So you have to go out of your way to make sure that child has if you're two women, make sure there's a male role model, preferably a family member, like an uncle, something like that, or the grandfather. And if you're two men and a daughter, it's the same thing. I think you should make that a priority to do that for your child, because I think it's important for a child's upbringing to have that. And so for me, it always comes to when kids come into the picture, then you really should start thinking about what's the type of the relationship that's best for your child, the foundation that's in the household that's best for your child, not for you. Because again, if you're going to have a child and you're not willing to sacrifice some things, then you shouldn't have kids, in my opinion. And I'm not saying go out and have abortions. Just, it's not really rocket science not to get pregnant. I've never been pregnant. Not that fucking hard to do. So if you're not willing to sacrifice things, like if you're like, look, I love just being able to sleep with whoever I want to, I love being in open relationships, I love the freedom, then don't fucking have kids. It's that simple. And if you want to have children, then you have to be able to sacrifice those things and say, okay, my child needs more a stable household. They need a father and a mother or two parents. I need to sort of sacrifice that freedom of relationships, so because now I want to have children. For me, it comes down to the child. But I don't think you need to have children just because you're married. And I don't think anybody needs to adopt my ideas. These are my ideas. These are my sensibilities. But anyway, let's continue.
Or are gay people doing that to you?
I think the harm comes from, on a societal level, when we start breaking down these basic central institutions, like the institution of the family and of marriage. That's where the harm comes from. And the more that people believe, the more that we build a society where it's believed that marriage is objectively meaningless, right? It's entirely subjective. It's just about making you feel better. The more that we build a society like that, I think that's where the harm comes in. The worse it is, and people are going to reject marriage, and that means more. Fewer kids are being born. Also, more kids are being born in a context where they don't have that stable family structure. So the harm definitely comes. It may not be this immediate, connect the dots thing, but and we can already see that.
All right, that's it, guys. Again, I don't think the gay marriages was harming the marital institutions, though. I think if there was no gay marriage, divorce would still be high. People would still be getting divorced. Kids would still be getting born out of wedlock. Children being born out of wedlock was happening long before gay marriage was a thing. Teenagers, teen marriage was rampant long before gay marriage was a thing. So the idea that you're putting it on gay marriage is like, that's not really what it was from. But maybe his point was really just breaking down the idea or the institution of what marriage is. But I don't think you should start with gay marriage if that's what you're trying to do. I think you should just basically fix the foundation and the fundamentals of what a relationship's supposed to be and what a foundation should look like before having children and all of those things. But anyway, that was Joe Rogan and Matt Walsh talking about gay marriage. I think I will do another follow-up to this video when they talk about being gay, period, and how that falls along, Christianity and religion and all that stuff. I find it very interesting because I come from that background. I was raised very religious. I'm not religious anymore, and this is one of the reasons why I'm not. Anyway, you probably disagree with me, and if you do, or you agree with me what I said, or disagree with what I said or what they said, let me know in the comment section below. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell to get the notifications when I do upload. All of that really does help with the algorithm, guys. And if you'd like to support the channel even further, you can donate. My PayPal link is in the description box below and also in the comment section. Of course it helps, but you don't have to. You can just like, comment, and subscribe. Another great way to support this channel is either join my brand new membership program, different levels, different tiers, different perks, or you can visit my brand new merch shop. Links down below and links to all of the alternative platforms I'm on, including my socials, my Odyssey, my Minds.com, my Discord, my Rumble account, my Twitter, and all the other links I have to my YouTube channels on this platform is always in the links down below. And if you like, you can super thanks. I also have a second travel vlog channel. I travel as a lifestyle. I live abroad. If you'd like to know where I am in the world, you can go to the description box below and also in the comment section. Hit the link, go subscribe to my travel vlog channel, and follow me on my travel Instagram. My stories is usually what's most up to date. And you guys, have an amazing day. Bye.